They haven't forgotten. Cats don't yell, slam doors, or give dramatic speeches, but when they're hurt, they remember. You might think everything's fine. They've eaten, they've napped, they've moved on. But beneath that calm surface, they still remember. Not because they're dramatic, but because something shook their trust. And now, they're showing you, in their own quiet way. In this video, we'll explore 8 signs that your cat might still be holding a grudge, along with what you can do to gently earn their trust back. It's not about blame, it's about understanding. And sometimes, healing begins with simply noticing the signs. Let's begin. Sign number 1, stops greeting you. When a cat used to run to the door the moment they heard your keys, or gently wind around your legs as you stepped inside, it was trust made visible. That kind of welcome only comes from comfort, consistency, and the quiet bond you've built together. But when that greeting fades, when the door opens and they no longer rush to meet you, something has shifted, especially if it follows a moment where they felt forgotten or left behind. Maybe you were gone longer than usual. Maybe you hurried out without saying goodbye. To us, it might seem like nothing, but to a cat, who finds security in routine and notices every subtle emotional cue, it can feel like a small heartbreak. So when they don't come forward, when they linger at a distance and simply watch, it isn't punishment, and it's not anger, it's hesitation. A quiet way of showing they're still unsure if everything feels safe and okay between you. If this helped you understand your cat a little better, leave a heart in the comments so others know they're not alone in this. Sign number 2, delayed or distant response. When a cat holds on to hurt, they rarely make a scene. Instead, they speak through silence, through the small shifts in how they react. You might call their name just like always, expecting that familiar flick of the tail or soft glance in return. And they hear you. They always do. But this time, the response comes slower. It's not distraction, it's deliberate. A subtle way of showing they're not quite ready to open back up. It's their way of protecting boundaries without pushing you away completely. They're simply choosing space, because in a cat's world, trust is earned slowly and offered in pieces. When something unsettles that trust, even slightly, those pieces are gently pulled back. A missed glance. These quiet moments speak, not to say it's over, but to show that healing is still in progress. And they're waiting to see if it's safe to trust again. Sign number 3, avoid sleeping near you. When a cat who once loved curling up beside you suddenly starts sleeping in another room, it might seem like a small change, but choosing to rest near someone is one of the most vulnerable things a cat can do. It means they feel safe enough to fully let go, to close their eyes and trust that nothing will harm them. So when that closeness quietly disappears, especially after a tense moment or a misunderstanding, it's often their soft, silent way of creating space. Not to punish you, but to protect themselves. They're drawing an invisible line while they try to make sense of what unsettled them. But don't worry, it doesn't mean the bond is gone. Cats rebuild trust slowly, with soft, careful steps. What they need most isn't a grand gesture. It's you, calm, present, and patient. Sit nearby, don't reach, just be there. Speak gently, and when they're ready, they'll come back to you, on their own terms. Sign number 4, pulls back physical affection. When a cat holds a grudge, it often shows up in quiet, measured ways. You may notice they're no longer rubbing their head against your leg or hopping into your lap like they used to. The soft headbutts, the gentle paw touches, those little gestures of affection suddenly pause. It's not that they're hiding or avoiding you completely. They're still in the room, still watching, still present. But that warmth, it's been pulled back, just slightly. That kind of silence feels like they're quietly letting you know they remember what happened. They might sit nearby, maybe even hold your gaze for a moment, but they're not ready to bridge the gap themselves. It's their way of showing that the trust between you has wobbled, even if just a little. Sign number 5, changes in grooming habits. Sometimes, after a difficult moment, a harsh scolding, a stressful trip in the carrier, or simply having their boundaries ignored, a cat doesn't react with hisses or scratches. Instead, they go quiet. But if you pay close attention, you might notice them grooming one spot over and over, almost as if they're trying to scrub away something they can't quite explain. It's not about being clean, it's about comfort, a way to soothe the discomfort they're feeling inside. Other times, they stop grooming altogether. Their fur begins to look messy, dull, or even matted. And it's not because they're sick, it's because they're struggling emotionally. When a cat feels hurt, overlooked, or overwhelmed, they often retreat inward. For some, grooming becomes a lifeline. For others, it just doesn't matter anymore. So if your cat suddenly changes how they care for themselves after a difficult interaction, it might be their quiet way of telling you that something still doesn't feel right. They're not being difficult, they're still processing. Sign number 6, breaks routine around you. Cats are creatures of habit. They find comfort in repeating the same rhythms day after day, eating at a certain time, sleeping in familiar places, and playing when the world feels safe. So when a cat begins to shift that routine, but only when you're present, it can be a quiet signal that they're still holding on to a grudge. Maybe they wait until you leave the room to approach their food bowl. Or they play with their favorite toy only when you're not watching. These are subtle, intentional changes. It's as if your cat is choosing when to be close and when to remain just out of reach. That kind of selective withdrawal is your cat's quiet way of showing they're still unsure about you, or that they haven't fully moved past what happened. And while your cat may still be physically nearby, these little shifts in behavior reflect a space in the bond that hasn't fully healed yet. Like this video, if you believe even subtle behaviors deserve to be heard and understood. Sign number 7, watches you from afar. There's a particular kind of silence that speaks louder than any hiss or growl. When a cat sits across the room, still and watchful, eyes fixed on you without blinking, it can carry more weight than a dramatic reaction ever could. They're not running away, they're not lashing out, but they're letting you know something hasn't been forgiven yet. This kind of stare isn't playful or curious, it's deliberate, guarded. It's the look of a cat who's holding back, choosing to keep a piece of themselves tucked away for now. And in that pause, there's distance, not just in space, but in trust. You might notice they repeat the behavior, always settling just far enough to observe without engaging. It's their quiet way of drawing a line, a subtle signal that they remember what happened and that they're still deciding whether to fully let you back in. Sign number 8, affection for others, distance for you. You might notice your cat rubbing against guests, curling up beside family members, or even approaching strangers with gentle curiosity, yet staying distant when it comes to you. That silence is a quiet message, spoken through behavior. They remember what happened, and they're not quite ready to move on. Cats don't hold grudges the way humans do, but they do hold on to moments that shook their sense of safety. Maybe it was an accidental scare, a rough interaction, or a confusing moment they couldn't make sense of. Those memories can linger, tucked deep beneath the surface. When trust has been shaken, even slightly, a cat won't always react dramatically. Instead, they retreat. They give their affection to others while staying cautious around you, not out of rejection, but reflection. It's a pause, a protective step back as they process their emotions the only way they know how, through distance, silence, and watchfulness. Understanding your cat on this level takes heart. If you've made it this far, you're already the kind of person they trust. Let's grow this thoughtful cat-loving community. Like, share, and join us by subscribing.